I don't know if you've ever had a head teacher who's had such a long handover as myself. I've had a year. I've looked after your children really well, in the school, and, they're really happy. I love the stress. I know that sounds a bit crazy,
wow.
but I do.
First time ever.
That's my style.
Yeah.
No, do you know what? I didn't even want to be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
I went into education by chance. I actually trained as an artist. I'm a white convert, and I sort of want to break down the barriers. How do we know we've been successful? Forget the grades. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what does success look like for that child. I don't think people know that we exist. It's like a proper school. Because it's a proper school. A non-Muslim child in our school.
Wow.
Oh, yes, we do.
MashaAllah.
We're proud of who we are, our identity.
Yeah.
That we're proud of being a Muslim. And
Welcome to the Murabiyoon Show, raising awareness of Islamic schools. Busy head teacher, mashallah.
Yes, very busy.
So what does a busy head teacher have for lunch?
Don't ask me this question. If I'm prepared, more often than not, I'm not. If I'm prepared, I'll make a sandwich in the morning, and I might just gobble it down by 10 o'clock, and that's lunch. If I'm not prepared, then it's just quickly get on to Deliveroo and get a sandwich and eat it if I can.
Well, at least it's still a sandwich. It's still a sandwich. I thought you were going to say it was some like fried food or
occasionally
a curry or something like that.
Occasionally.
Oh wow, okay.
If I'm lucky, I might get a school lunch as well if there's any left over. Yeah.
Do you know what? That's really nice to hear. A real honest, mashallah, head teacher who's prepared to say, I'm hungry and I need to eat.
Yeah.
So, let's get on to...
I think you have to, because I think my day doesn't begin when the children come in. My day is quite long.
Yeah.
We're here very early and we stay very late. And I do get hungry.
Mashallah. I'm hoping at some stage, inshallah, let's see how we get on with this podcast. But it'd be lovely at one point to actually put something together to say, 100 of our Muslim head teachers, this is what they like to eat, and this is how they kind of energize themselves. We might find a common kind of
tuna sandwich.
Not for me, but maybe for others.
Yeah.
Okay. What time does your day start and what time does your day usually end?
Well, it can start any time after 5 o'clock.
Wow.
But I'm not in school at that time,
Okay.
but I might do some work at home.
Sure.
And it can end at 8 o'clock. I can leave school at that time and then go home and do a bit more work as well.
Okay.
It depends, and it depends on the time of the year. So if there's a lot of revision for the children coming up to exams or the start of the year when we're really busy, then the hours are longer.
Okay.
And then you have stable periods, but I wouldn't say that's what I like about this job. It's not stable in the sense that you don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
But it depends. It's reflected on the time of the year and the things that you have to put in place ready for what's coming. You're planning ahead.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What do you like to do to kind of switch off?
I've got a passion now for gardening.
Oh, mashallah.
So since I moved to Luton, I spend as much time as I can in the garden. So I've got a real passion for planting seeds and helping them grow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That kind of fits in quite nicely with what you do in the school anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Planting seeds and to helping them grow. Yes. So there's a synergy there. Alhamdulillah.
There is,
mashallah. So you have somewhere where you can go to switch off and cut off and relax and wind down.
I think definitely. I think that's so important. No matter what job you have, actually. Mental health it's never been so prominent as it is now. Looking at children's mental health, looking at your staff's mental health, looking at people's mental health. And I think everybody needs some way of switching off, something that they can do, even if it's just half an hour a day, just to wind down and reflect. And, we're Muslims. This is a Muslim school. It's so important for everybody here to find that peace and balance. And, I try to impart that with staff and the children. The Prophet Salihi, he used to balance his days. He was the most busiest person, but he'd put his day into thirds, 8 hours for this, 8 hours for that, and there was a balance there. No matter what, nothing was neglected. And so for staff as well to have the balance in their lives and the children too. Yeah.
So usually the head teacher is responsible for looking after everybody else's well-being. Who looks after your well-being?
I'm very lucky, actually. I've got a I've got a wonderful board of trustees, and they do go out of their way to make sure that I'm very, very well looked after. Very well looked after. I think in the whole, I don't know if you've ever had a head teacher who's had such a long handover as myself. I've had a year with my predecessor, the acting head here, Ustad Faisal. He's been with me for a year, handing over, and I've absolutely loved that. MashaAllah, he knows the community very well, and I've been very lucky.
Alhamdulillah, that's good.
Yeah.
Are you the type of person who likes to take notes on your notepad or use a laptop?
Notepad.
Notepad and pen.
Notepad and pen.
Do you have a diary on your computer or do you have a hard copy?
I have hundreds of notepads, and I just grab one and write, and then I have the problem finding out where to put the notes because I can never find it. I love notepads, and I get a lot of notepads as gifts from parents and children and other people.
It sounds like it's being used. It's not being stacked up.
I just need one. My problem is I just write in them, and
all of them.
I'm a bit of a writer. Yeah, a list taker.
Yeah. Do you know what? You're right. When you. It's easy to take information down, but it's difficult just to take time just to organize it all and prioritize it and allocate it to people and what have you. So, okay, alhamdulillah, good. And then just finally, what's your favorite part of the day? 9 a.m. or 3:30 when the kids are gone?
Do you know what? I like them both, and I'll tell you what I like. I like the start of the day, and our start of the day is 8:15, and our end of the day is 3:30. And the reason why I like the beginning and the end of the day is that's actually when I can see the parents and the children together as they are coming into the school and leaving. I love to greet the parents or whoever's bringing the children to school and see the children really fresh. And I love it when children are running into school because they're excited to come to school and the parents are really happy. And I love it at the end of the day when the children are leaving because they're showing their parents the things that they've done. The parents are excited to see their children. So for me, those are the special times of the day when it's a brand new day and you don't know what's going to happen. And the end of the day when children have achieved something and parents see it. So I do love that. They're my favourite times.
It's actually really nice, actually, because to some extent that's your kind of quick burst of sense of achievement and a sense of kind of I've done something.
Yeah, I've looked after your children really well, in the school, and they're really happy, and that's what I love to see their faces. I love to greet every child and every parent if I can. I know sometimes we miss a few because there's a hustle and a bustle at the beginning and at the end. But I love to, talk with the parents and see them. Yeah.
No, mashallah, that's really nice to hear. Sister, how long have you been a head teacher for?
Oh, a head teacher, right. Since 2014, I became an acting head of a school in Tottenham.
Okay.
And then from that point on, I've been a head teacher. So, yeah.
Okay. How have you found it so far?
I love it. Absolutely love it. I do. I love the stress. I know that sounds a bit crazy, but I do.
First time ever.
I thrive on it. I like the pace and the speed of things and having to multitask. I find that's my style, if that makes sense. I do like that. I don't think I could go back to a less stressful life because I'm used to it now.
Yeah.
And I love the different elements of being a head teacher. I wouldn't say I'm not a teacher because I still teach every day. I try to teach children.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I don't think I'd ever give up teaching because I think if you don't teach, you sort of lose touch with the issues that the teachers have and the barriers to learning. So I think I will always be a teaching head teacher. And that's a passion. But I love all the different things like planning ahead and thinking strategically about what the school needs to do next to be successful. I love that. So, yeah.
Sounds like you're quite a dynamic person.
I like to be. Yeah. I don't know.
I'd
like to imagine I am.
I imagine every head teacher is a dynamic person because, like you said, you're wearing so many different hats throughout the day, let alone throughout the year.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really kind of on your feet. And
you evolve, I think. there is an evolving sense throughout the year. So there's a beginning of the year where you have to get all of your standards in place, and you have to impart everything that you need to impart for all your teachers. You might have new teachers and new staff, new children, and setting the standards again, resetting, if you like.
Yep.
And then there's a bit of a stable sense, and then you have to pick up the pace again. So it's not... you're not always the same person, if that makes sense. You do change as you need to throughout the year. So you might get, there might be a bit of a speediness at certain times of the year where you need to tell your teachers to come on. We've got to do this, and this. There's an urgency, if you like. And then there's a time where you can say, okay, we've managed all these things, so we're just going to stabilise a little, and then we're going to pick up speed again.
Sure.
So,
when you set out to come into education, and we were talking earlier on when you did your qualifications and what have you, did you always have that aspiration in mind that you wanted to be a school leader?
No. Do you know what? I didn't even want to be a teacher.
Oh, wow.
I went into education by chance. I actually trained as an artist.
An artist?
An artist.
What kind of artist?
Illustrator for books and
Oh,
posters. Wow. I went to art college. And then I thought, hang on a minute. I was looking at all my friends thinking, well, their jobs were not going to be stable. And this was in the 90s. And I thought, I need to have a stable job and be able to do my art as well. Yeah. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go into teaching. And I trained as a secondary school art teacher.
So the school thing was just like a side hustle.
A side hustle, definitely. I've never heard. I'd have thought of it that way. But yeah, side hustle. But then, so imagine this, art teacher, secondary.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I went into supply teaching. And I went into primary school and I never came out. I never once taught secondary schools. Never.
Oh, wow.
I went into primary teaching, into reception. And that was the hardest thing ever because I couldn't get the children to do what I needed them to do. And then I never looked back. And that was in 96. So that was it. And then I became a teacher. Somebody took me on as a class teacher, and I never thought about senior leadership, or I enjoyed being with the children and just teaching. And then after time, I mean, nowadays, I think you can get into senior leadership very quickly. But when I became a teacher, it's a slower progress and you needed more experience. Sure. So it was only in 2006 that I actually became an assistant head for Islamia. And then from that point on, I've been in senior leadership from there,
Oh, mashallah.
So,
yeah, alhamdulillah, Allah plans, we can have all the plans that we want,
exactly.
but He'll place you in certain places. And actually, when you do reflect back, you do appreciate, right?
Yeah.
That those things happen. Maybe at the time, maybe you don't quite realise it, but...
I would never have imagined I would be where I am now when I was that young, but I can't imagine now being anything different to where I am, and I'm content, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Who's your go-to person to just keep you on your toes and keep you motivated to do what you do?
Well, that is a tricky question, isn't it? Because
that's what I'm here for, tricky questions.
Yeah, tricky questions. So somebody keeps me on my toes. Okay. So prior to this job in this particular school, it was Mufti Hamid Patel, Sir Mufti Hamid Patel, as he is now. Mashallah, inspirational character.
Mashallah.
And then I found this school, so I moved into Luton. And I think... I know it sounds strange, or maybe it doesn't. The people that keep me on my toes are my trustees, simply because I want to make the school the best school it can be for them, for the staff, and for the children, but for the trustees trustees aren't paid, and they put in so much of their own time and effort for this school over a number of years. And when I met them for my interview, I walked out and thought, I've got to make this work for them. So I think they're my inspiration at the moment, that I have to get this school to outstanding no matter what.
Sure.
Because I want to do it for them. So I want to make them proud. So they're my people that keep me on my toes.
No, I mean, mashallah, I think it's always good for all of us to have good people around us
Yeah.
to inspire us,
Yeah.
to mentor us, coach
Yeah.
us. Everybody needs somebody, right?
Yeah.
And mashallah, in many ways we have the best example of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to kind of keep us going.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important that people don't forget that actually head teachers also need support along the way as well. So alhamdulillah, it's really nice that you've got a team around you that are doing that.
I'm very lucky, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Very lucky, yeah.
Throughout the years you've been in senior leadership and headship, alhamdulillah, you'd have had some interesting moments, no doubt. Some good, some not so good. Sometimes when you've probably thought, you know what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. Tell me a little bit about this. So maybe let's start off with, tell us about a difficult moment in headship.
Oh, difficult moments in headship. I think a difficult moment in headship is generally trying to please everybody, and you can't. And it's very, and this can get you into all sorts of issues because you always want people, you want to give everybody what they want, and you just can't. And I've tied myself up many times by giving too much, and that's my own thing. I try to, whatever my staff want or parents want, I try to give them. But in the end, actually, you have to sit back and say, actually, I'm the head teacher, and I have to think about what is right for the school, and move the school in the direction that I think is right with the trustees or governors at that time. And I think that was a big learning lesson for me, because you can have very vocal staff who want this, who want that, and you're like, okay, and you think, okay, maybe we can do that. And then it's afterwards you think, oh, it's not working. How do I pull that back? No, I can't do that anymore. Or there's parents who's, talk about curriculum, what they would like in the curriculum. Go, okay, maybe I can do that. And then you think, oh, no, now we're going too far the other way, or we're doing this, or we're doing that. I need to pull you back. So I think for me, one of the biggest challenges that I've had, and I think all head teachers have, and I don't think it ever goes away, is the you want to please everybody but you can't. And people skills and managing people is, it's a skilled aspect of leadership, is managing people. So they're tricky instances. Managing parents, managing your staff.
Can I ask you to maybe hone in on an example, like something that comes to mind where you've had a particular moment where you thought that was a tricky situation where I was trying to please everybody?
Curriculum. I think parents have a certain idea of curriculum when they come into a Muslim or Islamic-based school, and you might need to actually follow the national curriculum, and you have to talk to parents about, actually, we have certain control over aspects of curriculum, but we don't have certain control over aspects of curriculum. So we actually do need to do this in a sympathetic way, or there's curriculum
managing people's expectations.
Absolutely, definitely.
That comes back to this misunderstanding that people have of what is a Muslim Islamic school, right?
Absolutely.
And we were talking about this earlier on about having to do more as leaders of Muslim education to actually educate people about what is Muslim schooling, and actually the value that having a dynamic learning experience and curriculum has, from a deen and dunya point of view, whichever way you want to look at it, right?
Absolutely. And I think it's one of the key things that I see new parents when they come into the school. One of their big questions is about the curriculum. What do we do with the children? And that's one of the things that I've tried to do since I've been at this school, is to open the doors more for the parents and allow them to come in. Several parents' evenings, not just parents' evenings, but that's why we have these things on the walls, not just for teaching the children, so that parents actually get to see what is going on in the school. Why, what are the children learning, and ultimately why we're paying the fees as well.
Of course.
I mean, that's a big thing for the parents. But we also have exhibitions each term for the parents. They're invited to come and see what their children are learning about. So I know curriculum, it's a big deal for our parents.
So the complete opposite. Can you think of a highlight, a specific highlight that comes to mind?
Oh my word, there's so many highlights. There's just so many. Okay, right. So in my previous school, we grew our school. We started off with reception in year 1, and then in 2019 we got our last year 6, our first year 6. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And
Complete.
that's it. Our school was full, and I think the highlight was just the send off we gave the children and the achievements that they had, and the fact that we know that we have put in everything with these children. We've invested in those children, mashallah, to become, hopefully, inshallah, really good ambassadors for Islam. Not just, I'm not talking academically here. I mean, I think we've got a big role academically, but also socially, to nurture the whole child. And I think the highlight of one of the biggest highlights was actually seeing those children grow throughout the school, and actually looking at them in year 6 towards the end and saying, you know what, we did this, and then the parents did it too. But as a school community, we've shaped these children. And what was the most amazing thing was the year after the children left, we got emails from their secondary school saying how wonderful our children were, and that to me was amazing. That to me was amazing, because and these weren't Muslim schools. These were the secondary schools that the children had gone to, and they were like accolades for us to say, actually, you know what, you've done a really good job. That to me, nice.
That's really nice for your peers to tell you that you've done a good job.
Absolutely. So there are those things that are on a big scale, and then there are things that bring a smile to your face, and you think you've done a really good job when a child who has maybe a barrier, special needs, and they achieve something, and that to you is the most wonderful thing, that you have done with this child, because you have a different perspective of school and education and school life when you're a teacher or a head teacher. But if you think about that child, what school means to them is so important, so important. And if they're, if a child has a special need and they can actually now write a sentence or a story, and they come and they show you and they're so proud, there's nothing better than that to me, nothing better. So.
Yeah, I mean, often I guess when I ask people this question, maybe the thing that ultimately comes to mind, or maybe the way I put the question across, is what's the big grand thing? But actually, you're right. Sometimes it's the smallest thing that means the world to somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And you can see that you made a massive difference. And definitely.
I could easily talk about the grades children have achieved. I mean, that's been good. But to me, for me, it's the whole child. I'm more interested in the whole child than the grades, because you could have a child who achieves everything academically but can go out of the school and be very bad-mannered. And to me, that's a reflection of what have we taught our children in the school. So to me, I look at the whole child and, what we need to do with those, all the children, all aspects, holistically. Yeah.
Are there any students that you taught when they were a lot younger who have since grown up that you've maybe come across?
Oh, my word. Yes, I have.
How have those experiences been?
Oh, I couldn't even identify.
You don't recognise them?
In a way, it's good, because I haven't changed them. Even though it's like over 20 years ago, but they recognise me. But yeah, there have been a few instances where I've they don't forget. In fact, I met it's really bizarre. I met one of in my first ever school, Muslim school I worked in London, which sadly closed down. I met one of the parents of a child that I taught when they were 7 years old, so 23 years ago, I think it is, because they're 30 now, in Sainsbury's here in Luton.
Oh,
so it's
wow.
Like, Mrs. Park. It's like, hello. Oh, yes, you're Amal's mum. And, it was interesting. We spoke for a long time, but you teach so many children, and so many children come through your school. They never forget you. They don't forget the teachers that were not good, but they don't forget the teachers that were made an impression in their lives.
Yeah, like you said, you've made an impression in their life. You've had a massive impact, and those memories stay with you for life, don't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, that's a really nice story, actually. The reason why I asked you that question is because without you saying, mashallah, tabarakallah, you're a qualified, competent person. You could probably go to any other state school and get paid a whole load of money and have better benefits and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But you choose to be in Islamic schooling. So what is the motivation?
I think there's a range of Islamic schools. So prior to this school, I was in a free school. So you did get the high salaries.
Yeah.
And in London, you definitely get a good wage. For me, what interested me particularly about this school in Luton, my lovely school now, is looking at Luton, wondering why all the primary schools are not good or better in the eyes of Ofsted. Ofsted's just one facet, because we should be good or outstanding for Allah, because we're teaching these children. They're an amana to us. But that sort of piqued my interest, if you like, because I was in an outstanding school. I led an outstanding school for 5 years. So I wondered, why is the school not good or outstanding? And then looking further into Luton, why are, Muslim schools closing down? I wasn't so bothered about the school being an independent school. That wasn't my interest. My interest was, why is this Muslim school not good or better? And for me, that was a challenge. And I felt that I had the skill set to make the school good or better. So that was a challenge for me. And that's why I'm here.
Generally speaking, what is the motivation to work in being involved in Muslim schooling as opposed to state schooling?
Yeah. I think for me, personally, I'm a convert.
Mashallah.
And alhamdulillah, I'm a convert. And I think there's a lot, actually, it's quite a deep question, really, because I know there's a lot of propaganda, and I've seen it myself, about Muslims. And people get a bit of a shock when they see me. I changed my name when I first came here, actually, to my Islamic name.
When you
just
came
because I felt
to this school?
To this school. Okay. Prior to that, I had my English name.
Sure.
But this school, I changed it actually to my Islamic name. But actually, people get a bit of a shock to see that I'm a white convert. And I sort of want to break down the barriers with people, even educationalists, even, when you go for CPDs with people from state schools or none, you're grouped together and you're learning something that actually, we are intelligent people. So for me, I think Islamically, we've lost the way a little bit in education, in the sense that our children are not eloquent speakers that can debate. True. And I think that is all over this generation of children, or let's say our youths, our young adults. Now they'd rather say that they feel hurt, or they feel unsafe. These are the words now that they use, are saying when they don't like a debate or they can't debate.
Sure.
So I think we've lost the ability to debate serious subjects, and actually I want to bring that back. I want the children in the schools that I'm in to have a conversation with people that might not have the same beliefs or might not have the same ideas, and actually be able to say in a constructive, clear and thoughtful way what they believe in, or what they do, or how they think. So for me, that's one of my priorities, actually, that I want to break the mould and make this school a centre of excellence. I actually want this school to be on the map. Oakwood Primary School, you can go there, you'll get a fantastic schooling. When your children come out, your children will be amazing, eloquent speakers, who will have amazing manners and, can talk to people, and, they understand Luton, or they understand society. That's what I want. That's what I think we need, actually, because there's so much bad press about Muslims that I feel, as a convert as well, I need to change people's perceptions about Islam and Muslim schools.
Yeah.
So,
if you'd like to find out more about what Murabiyoon does, jump onto our website, murabiyoon.com. How are Muslim schools represented in the community? They're usually represented by a website.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, a little bit of social media, some of the better schools are doing. A prospectus.
Yeah.
Hearsay in the community.
Yeah.
Media.
Yeah.
So actually, really and truly, nobody really knows Sister Fatemah, the head teacher.
No,
nobody actually knows the character and the identity and the personality of this school, because we've kind of created this barrier. We have, as Muslim school leaders, we've kind of just said, no, that's as much of the information I'm prepared to give you. And I think that we have to be a bit more proud of who we are and what we have.
And I think Muslim schools in general have maybe not a bad press, but maybe people don't understand, they're misunderstood.
Yeah.
So especially with the quality of education, I want to dispel all the myths, I think. So.
Well, mashallah, I can feel the passion that you have towards kind of being part of the overall kind of movement to change the perception amongst the wider community that they have towards Muslim schooling, and also locally as well, trying to kind of raise the aspirations and feelings that people have. Can I ask you a really difficult question? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to. What's it like to be a white English Muslim in a schooling system which is predominantly made up of people who don't look like you and who aren't necessarily from your background? How is that experience? Because I can imagine that that's not something that I can't relate to that, and I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of people listening that wouldn't be able to relate to that either. But what's that like?
I think I'm used to being like this, if that makes sense. Working in many schools and being the white English convert leader. So I'm sort of used to it. I sort of forget that I'm actually white English Muslim. But there are definitely some differences that we have. So I was always brought up with a certain set of manners. For example, always say please, always say thank you, always be polite, look after your neighbours, all this, be quiet, be respectful. And I think you do see definitely differences in expectations. I think it's not meant to be any different, but there are different expectations from different cultures of how a child should be.
In terms of their behaviour, the etiquettes.
In terms of behaviour and how much you'd let a child do a certain thing. And, that to me, I think has been, I would say the manners has been the most different. I wouldn't say difficult, because we try to embed those things anyway through hadith. But to me, that's the expectations, for, sometimes you might be talking to a parent and a child will, in front of the parent, cut the parent off and start talking to you, and those manners are not embedded. So I see that, and to me, I think that's one of the biggest differences I see. But
generally speaking,
I don't really look, at the school context here, mainly Asian children and parents, some mixed, but I don't class myself as, I just class myself as a Muslim nowadays. I don't see myself as a white English convert. I've been a Muslim for many years, since my 20s, and I just don't see myself. I see myself as a Muslim and part of the Ummah. That's how I am.
That's beautiful to hear. Nice, and alhamdulillah, it's really nice to hear that you've not had any challenges and issues in terms of kind of doing what you do, and it's not been a barrier or an obstacle. When
I came to this school, I think that prior to me, there had been a little bit of instability with leadership. And when I wrote an introduction letter and I used my English name, and the community were like, well, if she's a convert, if she's a Muslim, why is she not using a Muslim name? And do you know what I actually thought at that time? I know, but I actually thought at that time, this is a new start for me, and I'm going to move to Luton. You know what? I'm going to use my Muslim name. I'm proud of my Muslim name as well.
Wow.
I kept my English name because I wanted, it's a beautiful name that I have. It's got beautiful meaning, and I'm so respectful of my parents for bringing me up the way they brought me up, and I didn't want to change it. So now I've like two names. I feel like the Queen with two birthdays, but I've got two names. And I'm proud of my Muslim name too. So this is.
No, I mean, alhamdulillah, at the end of the day, you have the flexibility in that choice. And the fact is that you've it's your choice. And it sounds like you've felt empowered and to kind of to make that choice just a bit at the right time and at the right moment.
And it was, you know what it did? It enabled an opportunity for me to speak to the children, because when I introduced myself, I was Katrina, started Katrina, and now I'm started Fatemah, and I actually spoke to them about how I became a Muslim and, you know, changing my name and all these
They
things.
Must have loved it.
Yeah.
They must have loved it.
You know, this is the thing I try to impart on the children. We do a Hadith of the Week assembly every week. And one of my biggest themes is actually people becoming Muslim. So we have to behave a certain way, or we have to follow the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, you know, to show our best selves, so that people look and say, oh, Muslims, well, maybe I'll become, and imagine, you know, all the rewards for somebody becoming a Muslim because of you. So these are things I want to, you know, inspire the children, you know, to do.
Inspire the children, but also I think inspire other converts, reverts coming into Islam to say, actually, you can actually still have a really good career and have a really big impact on the community and society.
Definitely.
And again, it's breaking down some of those stereotypes and some of those barriers along the way.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, it sounds like you've had a really interesting journey along the way, and you yourself have developed as well as a person. So, you know, and like I said, I can imagine adults love those revert convert stories. Yeah. So kids would be even more intrigued as well. So it must be really nice.
Definitely.
If you weren't a head teacher of a school, what role would you want to have? What's that kind of role you always look at and think, oh, if only I didn't have the stress that you refer to, but I could just focus on something within the school setting?
That's never come into my head.
No? But never. What if you could choose a role, what would you choose? Another role.
Oh my God. If I could choose a role in a school.
Yeah. Art teacher?
No. If I could choose a role in this school, I think I'd be a counsellor. Do you know that? The Tarbiyah style of things. Yeah, I would do that. I'd be a positive counsellor person. Maybe not counsellor, just somebody who can just bring all the children up. I would love to do that, yeah. But I think I do that anyway as a leader. That's part of it. But yeah, that's what I would
dedicate and focus yourself to it.
Yeah, on you know, counsellor, I think maybe sort of has a negative connotation in the sense that it's always children that come with, you know, issues or problems and they need someone to talk to. I don't mean like that. I mean, looking at children that maybe don't have as much self-esteem and you really want to bring them up. And the reason why I say it is, you know, I always teach. I like to teach, but I like to teach the lower ability children.
Okay.
Why? Because lower ability children generally have low self-esteem. They don't believe in themselves. And why don't they believe in themselves? Because throughout the years, they know that they're not achieving as well as their peers. Maybe a teacher says something, an adult says something, maybe a parent says something. And then when you look at the children and they get to year 6 and nobody has stopped this, and you have this pattern of negative self-esteem, it's very hard to change the mindsets. And I always say to the children that come to my group, you know what? You know why you're here? It's because you're the best. You know, just to build their self-esteem. You're this, you know, the wonderful ones that, you know, I'm going to make amazing. And, you know, I love to bring something out of the children. That to me is, I love it. I just can't describe it. I love it. I love when somebody says they're having a hard day and, you know, this and that. And I actually love it. So it's fine. I don't understand.
Sounds like you got a real motherly touch in terms of kind of wanting to nurture and just help people grow and see the best of themselves.
Definitely. And teachers as well. I just love to see my teachers grow. I love it. I just feel like, oh yeah, I did it. Well done.
We spoke about this actually earlier on, and I wonder if you change your mind. But again, if you weren't in education, what else do you think you'd be doing? I know you said you went down the artistic route.
Oh gosh, I think if I wasn't a teacher, no, in my time now, I think I would love to be a landscape gardener. With
Wow.
my passion for gardening now.
You've gone full steam ahead with gardening.
Maybe. Maybe when I retire.
I was going to say, there's a new adventure playground out there. You must find something to do with that.
No, but I will have a look at it. But I think, maybe landscape gardener, looking into plants, what goes where, and what grows best in what soil. And
I'll tell you what, my mum's going away for a few weeks, and she's always having to go at me about the garden, so I might call you in.
You can, I don't mind. I don't mind.
Especially there's a half term coming up, so I'm sure you'll be itching to.
Definitely. Well, my daughter knows any free time I'm out in the garden. So.
No, alhamdulillah. You must be loving it with the weather the way it is.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's really nice.
Alhamdulillah.
Do you know there's this concept, there's this idea, and that's widely used in Muslim schools, and I want to try and figure out what it means and what it means to different people.
Yeah.
There's this idea of tarbiyah and nurturing and cultivating and all these ways of explaining, what it is that we do for Muslim kids in Islamic school. What does it mean to you? What does tarbiyah mean? What is this concept of nurturing?
To me, Tarbiyah means nurturing children, but through the hadith, the sunnah. You take those teachings and you give examples of that, and then you nurture the children to use this. So we have our hadith assembly on a Monday, but I like to see it in action. So, for example, we had a hadith this week about kindness to parents, and they have a letterbox. They have to write down what they've done to show kindness to their parents this week. So it's nurturing, fostering ideas, I guess.
Okay.
And nurturing, but it's multifaceted, isn't it, Tarbiyah? So we have, so there's that aspect. So you're looking at the whole school community. We're all going in one direction.
Yeah.
So that's the Tarbiyah of the whole school. Then you have your individual children that you have to nurture because they've got difficulties. So we have school counsellors. We actually have qualified counsellors that will take the child for a certain amount of time and counsel them and nurture them so that, we see progression in a certain aspect of that child's needs at that time. So I see nurturing is part and parcel of what we do for our teachers to nurture. So I'll always give the insets about, you can make or break a child, or, you must have seen the TED Talk, every child needs, what is it? I've forgotten it.
You said something earlier on that reminded me of that TED Talk, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember what it's called, but we play that. Every child needs, we'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Needs someone. But yeah. No,
I mean, the thing is that it's, like I said, it's quite commonly used in Muslim schools, Islamic schools, and I started to wonder what it actually means to individuals and individual schools.
You want all your children to be happy at the end of the day. You have to nurture them. So what does happiness look like? What does confidence look like? I think you work from the top down. For me, I look at what, and I say this to the staff, what does success look like for us? How do we know we've been successful? Forget the grades, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about what does success look like for that child? How do we know that they're ready for the next stage? What does it look like? And then we have to facilitate that. And then we know, and that's about the whole child, isn't it? So we have to nurture. I mean, if you didn't have your nurturing, you would just solely be looking at academic, but nurturing from nursery, social skills, how to give, how to share, all those skills, they're soft skills, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Some of them aren't measurable, like you said.
And you can see the effect of this from the COVID. So we've seen, actually one person from Chiltern Trust came to visit the school, and she asked me, because we got a placement, like a placement teaching assistant in our school, and she actually just generally in conversation said, which year group do you think the pandemic has affected the most? And I said year one definitely, because they missed out the foundation stage, and that is a crucial stage of learning. You're learning to be.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to be as a child, how do you know how to learn? How can you do your academic side? How can you sit? We found the children have less attention. They can't sit still. Even now in year one, they find it difficult. And then after year one, reception. they didn't know. They missed nursery. They missed, and we're having to nurture the children more now than ever before to get the children back to where they should be. So I found the pandemic, it's been very interesting looking at the children now and how unsettled they were right at the beginning of the year. And, you know, the progress that some children have made, but there's still some children, you know, that they're still not where they should be, you know, socially. And we're nurturing those children to get them to be where they should be, but they need a lot of our time and investment, definitely.
The fact that you're aware of it, you guys will be all over it.
Yeah, inshallah.
Let's talk a little bit about the school.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Oakwood Primary School.
Yeah.
So if I came to you and I said, Sister Fatemah, I'd like to send my daughter to Oakwood Primary School. Very briefly, so I bumped into you in Sainsbury's, okay? Mashallah, where you commonly shop.
Yeah.
So, Sister, mashallah, I've seen you, you know, you've done this amazing podcast and I want to send my daughter to your school and you haven't got too much time. How would you sell, or how would you describe Oakwood Primary School?
I have to say I've got the most amazing members of staff. I've got to say that. And I've been in many schools. They are dedicated and devoted. So I would say that, you know, if somebody was coming to talk about my school, to find out about it, I'd say you've got dedicated staff who really care for your children. We've got world-class syllabus, curriculum, and children will achieve highly throughout their years. And we've got a wonderful, dedicated, experienced, qualified Arabic team. So not only will your children achieve the best that they can academically, and they will, that's by the by, that's given because our teachers have to teach, but they will learn the Quran. They will learn Arabic. And one thing that we're investigating at the moment is when our children leave in year 6, how are they compared to secondary schools with their Arabic and their Quran? Because I want to know, I think we're actually higher than the children in year 7. So at the moment I'm doing a little bit of an investigation. So I think for us at the moment, you know, our Arabic and our Quran is as important as the national curriculum subjects that we teach. So at the end of the schooling, you know, your child will have the best all-round education Islamically and academically.
So a holistic kind of educational experience.
Definitely.
At Oakwood Primary School.
Yeah.
And you touched on the staff, actually. I mean, mashallah, I know you think very highly of your team and the people around you. And it'd be easy for you to say that as the leader, you've done it all. But like you said, you've got a team around you, both above you and below you, and around you.
Couldn't do it without the team,
to support you along the way. I mean, what's your management style generally like? I mean, how do you generally get, how do you get the most out of your staff?
I'm quite a collegiate leader in the sense I don't know if anybody came to the school, they'd know that I was the head teacher. I'm quite involved in teaching and learning. I like to inspire staff. I like giving CPDs to inspire staff, but I like to explain why we're doing things, especially if you've had a few turbulent years, which Oakwood has had. You know, they've had many people coming in and changing things, but actually I wanted to build a rapport with the staff and get them to understand, you know, and we're all humans. I'm human. We're all humans. You know, we've got to get the school to good or better, good or outstanding, and we have to do it together. And I think that's my leadership style. We're in it together. I'm with you, and if we're successful, it's because of you, and if we're not successful, it's because of me. So and I think they like that. But I like to explain. So my leadership style is all about, you know, this is where we're heading. This is why we're going there. This is how we're all going to do it. And I give the examples. So I'll teach, I'll show, mentor. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I wouldn't like to be a head teacher who just says things and then that's it. I like to actually teach and to demonstrate. Show. Yeah, definitely.
What makes you guys any different to any other Muslim primary school?
Wow. I think we can all say that, actually. We can all say, oh, well, you know, there's Muslim schools that teach Quran, they teach Arabic, and they do national curriculum, and children do quite well, but I've got ambitions for this school that makes us very different to other schools, because the ambition for this school is to actually become a secondary school as well, so that the children move through, so all through school, maybe different premises, but what makes us different is the fact that, you know, this is going to happen, inshallah. I do believe there is a need for secondary schools and very good secondary schools for Muslim children, but the fact that your child could stay in primary and then move smoothly into secondary school, I think that's a big asset, because the children will already know what Oakwood's about. So they go to Oakwood Primary, they go to Oakwood Secondary, and all those values are still there, and the same style, everything is there. They're not having to learn a new way. So yeah, we've got big ambitions for our school. Trustees are very ambitious. I'm very ambitious, and just say watch this space. Inshallah.
Inshallah, Allah give you guys success in what you're trying to do. I mean, what's the general, I know you haven't been in Luton for too long, but what's the general vibe of the community about Oakwood and the feeling that they have towards it?
I don't think people know that we exist. From what I've heard, I do ask my staff when people email or they come for interviews, how did you find out about the school? I didn't even know it existed. Somebody said something about Oakwood, and I was like, where is that? And I think because we're not in the centre or near Bury Park or in that area, we're actually on the outskirts. I don't think people really know about us. I would say that has been a little bit of an issue to get children to come to the school, is that nobody really knows that we're here. So I'm going to promote us.
Watch this space.
Yeah, definitely.
You might have to take some advertising space from us.
Definitely, inshallah. Definitely.
Difficult question I'm going to ask you, but I think I'm sure you'll have an easy answer to this. But if Oakwood wasn't around, would anybody miss it?
Yeah, that is quite a difficult question. I think we're on a journey. If I'm going to give you a truly honest answer, I think at the moment, maybe not. I would think maybe not. I think our staff would miss it. We are like a family here. I think the children who are here, maybe they would. Parents, maybe they would, the ones that are here. The general community, I don't think so, because they don't know we're here.
Sure.
So I think it would impact on the children that are in our school now and the parents that are here now, because they're beginning to understand the school's journey. And I have to say, it took a while for the parents and the community to trust that I was going to stay in the school.
Oh, okay.
Because I think previously they've had some different changes of management. So for there to be stable leadership, I think that's taken a bit of time. But now I'm getting positive feedback from the parents. So I think we're turning a corner. I think if you were to ask me the question again in a year, I'd definitely be able to say, you know what, But you know, if you're in education, it takes time.
Yeah,
you know, you can do quick fixes, but they're quick fixes, you know, and I need to get into the depth of the school. And, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time for us to become embedded within the community. So, I think, that is quite a difficult question.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I tend to ask people that question is because we want to make sure we're adding value, we're making a contribution, right? And we want to make sure that our efforts, the money we're spending, the energy is we're feeling it. Yeah,
definitely.
Because it's quite easy for us to do work for the sake of Allah and to get busy, but actually the quality of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think the quality of what we're providing is very good. And I will say that coming from an outstanding school. I think there's stability in the teaching and learning. There's real secure teaching and learning taking place in the school. So I can hand on my heart say that, you know, the children are receiving a quality education. But the reason why I say I don't know if the school would be missed, I really do believe it's because we don't have the reputation yet.
Sure.
I don't see it. I don't see where we are, and that's something, you know, myself and the trustees need to work on. You know, building our reputation in the community, so people actually know, you know, Oakwood. You know, that's School of Excellence. You know, Oakwood. But at the moment, you say Oakwood, and like, who are you? Do you see what I mean? So I think it's about being recognised, and inshallah we will get there.
Well, inshallah, when people see this podcast,
Inshallah.
they'll know a little bit more about Oakwood. I think that's
Yeah.
one of the one of the objectives of the podcast, to actually give the community.
I think maybe the placement of the school as well, because we're not in the heart of like
Where the vast majority,
where there are loads of mosques and other schools and things like that. And I think if you were there, then people see the building.
Yeah.
But because we're actually in a residential area as well, it's a little bit, it's, and you're in the outskirts a little bit. So I think that creates like a barrier.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah, it sounds like a nice challenge that you've recognised and that you're prepared to overcome. Just a couple of more questions, actually, just about your time so far with Oakwood and some of the experiences. Has there been a particular highlight over the last kind of year for you, like something that really stands out?
I love the exhibitions. Okay. I'll tell you what a highlight was. We had last year, I just started after Ramadan. We had a Hajj exhibition. So one of the first things I did was let's do a wonderful Hajj exhibition. So every class had to look at a certain aspect of Hajj, and then they'd make all these displays and teaching, and then there'd be a wonderful exhibition at the end, and all the parents would come.
Okay.
So we did it. It was truly fantastic. I mean, the things the children learned, and their displays were amazing. The exhibition was absolutely fantastic. But the highlight was this. The parents were allowed to come through, and I don't think previously the parents had actually come into the school.
Okay.
And as the parents were leaving, one of the parents said, it's like a proper school. Because it's a proper school. So I don't even think the parents knew what school Oakwood was. And that made me think, right, you know what, we've got to get our doors open more often. So we've done fundraising, we've had events where parents come into the school. We've had big parents' evenings, and parents can come through. Next week, we've got an ambitions program where parents who've got interest in jobs or any jobs, they're going to come in and speak about their jobs and careers to our children, to inspire our children. So just to get parents to come in, any opportunity to get parents to come in, I will do, because I think parents need to see, just as you said about value, we're paying for this education, what are we getting for this? And I want the parents to be proud of the school, and I want the parents to be proud of what their children are doing as well. So, but that was the highlight of my year, when the parents said, it's like a proper school. It's a proper school, actually.
Do you know, I'm pretty certain that somewhere along the line, every school leaders had to use that, probably heard, or you had to use that phrase to say that we are a proper school.
Yeah.
Well, are you really a school and not just a hidden away kind of?
I mean, it was interesting to me because I'm used to parents coming into schools. In all of my schools, they've always come into schools. So, I sort of ask around, do parents not normally come in the school? Actually, I don't think they were coming into the school. So that we're trying to change that, inshallah.
No, alhamdulillah, it's good. If we asked a young person that comes to this school what their schooling experience is like, what would they say? What would you think a young person would say that comes to Oakwood, has been here for the last few years or in the last year? What's their experience like?
I think they say they learn a lot. I think they would say that they're cared for, because that's one of the big things, isn't it? What's it like for a child in your school? Yeah. I think they would feel looked after. Yeah. That if they have any issues, somebody's going to listen to them. Yeah. There's a real, we've said nurturing Tarbiyah, but there is a real nurturing feel in this school. It's like a family. The door, I have an office. Yes, I do have an office. I don't sit in the office. I sit with my office staff downstairs, and the children know where I am, and they're always opening the door, and they know, it's a real friendly vibe in the school. Yeah. So I think the children would say it feels like a home, because that's we do want them to achieve in every aspect, but we also want the children to feel comfortable. And I do think the children feel comfortable talking to all of the staff here. Sure. Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you're enjoying the content. If you enjoy what you've seen, please press subscribe. It'll make a big difference. Jazakallah khair. I think that's one of the beauties of all Islamic schools, or a lot of Islamic schools, in that there's this real kind of homely feel to the whole place. And you know what? In all honesty, really and truly, right now we're sat in a residential building, a pretty large one, right? MashaAllah. But that just adds to the character of the place to
Absolutely.
create this family environment.
And you think it's a really small building, but actually, if you go and walk around the
Yes.
building, it is big.
It doesn't stop, actually.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
no, I've been here a few
Yeah.
times, and I've been right to the top, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, where does this stop?
Exactly.
And but it adds to the place.
Yeah,
It adds character to the
definitely.
place, and I think it makes a difference.
Yeah.
I think the challenge for yourselves, inshallah, as you grow, is with your growth plans. There's going to
Yeah.
be bigger facilities.
Yeah.
Can you retain the kind of culture and the kind of
Yeah, and I think
the
that
feel of the
is
place?
something to
Because
really
as we spoke
consider.
about earlier on,
Yeah,
these kind of things are
expansion,
lost.
Sometimes you lose the personal touch,
That's it.
and it's very interesting. So I've been spending a lot of time in year 6. Just an example of like that personal touch is so important. I spent a lot of time in year 6 recently because of their SATs, but I've been working. I've been teaching a group of year 6 children for a few months now. And now SATs are over, so I've not been coming in. I've been working with year 2 and watching the children do their SATs tests. And I've missed seeing the children, but they've also missed seeing me, and the teachers have missed seeing me as well. It's like, where are you now? I was like, oh yeah. So I have to, and that's what can happen if going back to what you're saying about expansion. If you have invested your time with your staff and your children, and you've gone out of your way, to create those relationships, as you expand, you have to put something in place, because you don't want to your time to be filled with other things, and actually you're losing your personal touch with your staff, because they feel it. They really do feel it. And I've had first-hand experience of that as my previous school grew, and we were multi-sited. We were not in one building. There were times I wouldn't see members of staff, and they it impacts on them. If you're leading them, truly leading your staff, and you're not there, they will feel it. So that is something, it's a real consideration. What do we do to make sure everyone still feels that family feel, if you're expanding?
And that goes for the staff as well.
Exactly, the staff,
and not just and everybody involved. Parent, you being accessible to
and parents as well. If you're not
there,
if you're used to being on the gate in the morning and in the afternoon, and you're not there, it's like, okay, what's going on? Because sometimes that, I would say quite a lot, actually, not just sometimes. When you're there at the gate, you're giving the parents reassurance you're there. You're there. But if suddenly you're not there, then okay, where's the starter? What's happening with the school? Or if you're same with your staff, if suddenly you're not there and you were there, what's going on? And there's that comfort when you see the people that you look up to, or your leaders. You're there for them, so it's a big consideration, actually.
But it's a nice consideration to have as part of your growth plans, and I think I think if you're mindful of it, then you will plan your next premises and your growth,
definitely,
and
plan it in a way that it has the least impact on those their valuable relationships.
No, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about Islamic schools in general. Okay, let's put Oakwood aside. Let's put everything else aside. Let's just talk about Islamic schools in general. Is there a need for Islamic schools?
I think so.
Why?
Definitely. I think for the Islamic character of a school, so that you can really home in on what Islam is. I'm just trying to think then, when you said that, okay, Muslim children going into state schools, yes. The majority of Muslim children go to state schools. But how do you teach them then about all the nuances of Islam? In a Muslim school, you can really delve deeply into Islam. You might have parents that don't know much about Islam, but you get a warped sense of Islam. So for me, I think definitely there is a need, especially now, because there are so many stereotypes about Muslims, but I think we need to do a better job. Okay. That's what I'm going to say. I don't think that we are, as independent Muslim schools, doing a good job of actually showing the wider community, the Muslim community even, and the wider surrounding community about actually what we're about. So one of the things I did when I came here was we actually made baskets, and each we had an interfaith week where we looked at the similarities between Judaism, Islam and Christianity. Bearing in mind where we are in Luton, our neighbours are not Muslims, they're multi-faith. And we looked at those similarities, and children looked in the Bible and they found quotes from the Bible that were similar about looking after your neighbours to Islam and Judaism. And then they made a basket to give to the neighbours. We added some little things, they put some quotes on, they made some things, and then our school council delivered the baskets to the neighbours, and they were so happy. We got cards back from them, just to say, what? Here we are. And one of the first things I did as well here as the head teacher was to be visible to the neighbours and introduce myself to the neighbours and talk to them, what are the problems, what are the issues. But I think this goes into, people knowing who we are, that actually we're not this insular school, we're actually a community school. Yes, we might be an Islamic school, but we're a community school, and we're here for you as well. And the rights, if you ask the children, many of my assemblies are all about the rights of the neighbours. They have rights over us, and we need to be considerate. Every day I talk about the neighbours, every day. It's so important to me. Why? Because we have to change the stereotype. It's very important to me that we're proud of who we are, our identity, that we're proud of being a Muslim. And I want the children in school to be proud of their religion, to be able to talk about their religion to the wider community. So for me, yes, I do think we do need the Muslim schools to teach our children about Islam. What is Islam in reality? The true Islam, not warped Islam of the stereotypes. I don't want any of that. I just want the real Islam where we look after each other. It doesn't matter who you are.
No, it's really
and I don't
important.
know if you get that from. I've worked in state schools. Half of my life has been in Muslim schools. Half of my life has been in state schools. So I've got both sides. So I don't think that in a state school you would get all the community work, but really homing in on different groups of people, and using the Quran and Sunnah to show the children actually this is what it means. You wouldn't get that in a state school. Wouldn't. So I do think there is a need, definitely.
What do you think are the biggest challenges that we face as Islamic schools in terms of kind of where we are today and progression moving forward?
I think it is about how we're seen. I would say that is one of the biggest challenges.
When you say how we're seen, is that within our own community?
Both,
Okay.
Everywhere. Yeah, I would say that, and having lots of conversations with people from Luton. What do you think about Muslim schools? Want to send their children to Muslim school? Why not? So for me, that is, a big thing is, how we're perceived, our perception as being a Muslim school. So I'd really like to dig deep, into that, but also how are we perceived as an independent school, not just a Muslim school, but as an independent school? Is it a school where you would send your child to because it offers something different? It offers that world-class education, and if you come here, you're going to get this. When you come here, your child is going to know this amount of hadith, this amount of dua, this amount of Quran given. That's what we promise you. So for me, breaking down. I'd just like to say that we do have actually a non-Muslim child in our school.
Wow.
Oh, yes, we do.
MashaAllah.
We have a Romanian child in our school, not a Muslim Christian. I said, but you do accept Christians, don't you? And yes, we do.
Is that the first time?
Yes, we do. First time. Wow. Yes, we do. Yeah.
How's that?
And in my previous school, we had a non-Muslim child. They loved it.
How's the experience been like for that child? And
they're in nursery, so I think they're enjoying it.
Okay. What about for the parent though? What was the thing that triggered them to want to?
They have Muslim friends.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
So for them, was it the values and the kind of?
I don't know.
Vision of the school, or is it just?
I think they came to have a look around the school and they liked it. And I think that's it. If you can come into the school, you see what the school's about, and you actually come and you look at what we do, then I've not had anyone who's come to school and not wanted to come, brought their child to the school. They do come to the school, but it's about making sure people can come into the school. They know we're here. So
that's a really nice story, actually. Mashallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. That's amazing.
Oh, it's really good. I think, like you said, she really put it out there to say, actually, the doors are open for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
There are so many universal values that we have
Absolutely.
with people of faith and not no faith. And sometimes you said earlier on, this idea, the concept that people have of us being insular, and we ourselves being insular as well.
Totally.
But that's a really interesting concept. And I was having this conversation, actually, funny enough, with somebody quite recently. And I can't remember why we had this conversation, but we were talking about, the Islamic schooling movement is quite young.
Yeah.
30 years, if that. And what do the next 30, 40 years look like, 50 years look like? And at what stage do Islamic schools have an admissions that is balanced between Muslims and non-Muslims? Could you imagine a time when that comes along?
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden, we are catering for a non-Muslim audience.
That comes from your reputation. So you'll see that there are lots of Christian schools that have Muslims in there. Why
Hundreds.
are they in there? Because of the values. Because those values are very strong. And we need to show those values, those same values.
I think the vast majority of us would have went to particularly primary schooling, which was, and you're there singing hymns and listening to them and the morning prayer and all of that kind of stuff. I'm actually really looking forward to that time when that comes, because it'll be an interesting kind of journey that we go through.
Yeah.
Because obviously we want to still retain the Tarbiyah from an Islamic understanding that we have, but also being able to accommodate for a wider audience.
And I think that is life, isn't it? Because we're all different, and we might not all agree on the same things, but we have to understand each other and give time to each other to do that. And I think, we've got a journey to go on as Muslims to do that as well. To make sure that we actually have a good, solid understanding about our religion. I think that's the first thing, actually. How many of us actually have a really good, solid understanding about Islam ourselves? And then we have to teach our children and then teach them to be eloquent as well about their religion or about their beliefs, anything. And to be confident to speak and have a debate. And we've gone full circle back to debating, but this is where we are. We need to be, if somebody comes up to you and says, well, why are you a Muslim? For our children to actually say, well, you know what, this is a reason why. Why are you a Christian? Or why do you believe in this? So, well, what are you doing? And
can we have a discussion about it?
And to be able to say, well, you know what, in the Quran it says this, or there's a hadith about that. And then that person say, well, in the Bible, wouldn't that be an interesting concept? But I think generally parents have a way to go when you bring in other religions, because they get scared that you're going to make their children go into another religion. We don't do that. But I would love to get to the point where children in this school, actually at the moment they know about religions and they respect all the religions, but to actually know, I can talk to that child about that, and it's fine, and I can play with that friend.
Yeah, exactly.
They might not have the same beliefs as me, but you know what? We're all from Allah, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the important thing, and you never know what's going to come in the future. I always bring the children back to how I became a Muslim, and if I was around people that were really intolerant or harsh with me, do you think I'd become a Muslim? No. The people who I was with, they were soft. They answered my questions. They were lovely people, and loveliness brings loveliness, but if you're hard and you don't say things, and
Prophet Sallallahu character and personality was what attracted Khadija radiallahu anhu to him, and many other examples of people becoming Muslim earlier on. So
definitely.
There's so many teachings that we can take just from that, and I think today in today's society, we really do struggle to really kind of just let our guard down a little bit,
and speak, just to be, and just
be a bit more welcoming as well. But I think maybe that's one of the challenges potentially, and people might disagree with me, of possibly going to Muslim schools, in that you don't get enough exposure and experience to people who have different views to you
Yeah.
and who look different to you
Yeah.
and who have a different outlook on life, because having that experience helps mold you and shape you and makes you become better, makes you become more confident as a Muslim as well.
Yeah. And in Malaska, we had I don't know if you have heard of Three Faiths
Yeah.
Forum. It used to be called that. It's changed now. But we had links. We had a link with a Christian school. We had a link with a Jewish school as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we were placed very nicely in Stoke Newington, and it had all these
Yeah,
schools
yeah.
around. But we had partnerships where the children would do a project with children of different faiths. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we even had a massive debate, but we invited all of the different schools come and debate on a certain subject. But it was fantastic. And when I came to Luton, it's one of the things I wanted to introduce in this school. I've yet to find a school that will want to partner with this school. So I'm not going to stop looking.
Talk to me after this. Maybe we might have something that we can help you with.
Definitely want to, because I think we have to stop our parents from feeling scared for children to be exposed to other people that are different to them.
The parents need to go on an educational experience themselves.
The other way around as well, or non-Muslim parents to actually speak to Muslim children and parents. I think it's both ways, actually.
No,
there's
definitely
a misunderstanding. Maybe I can bridge that gap. You never know. You never know.
A few more questions, inshallah, until we kind of wrap up where we when we started. Alhamdulillah, it's been a really nice, lovely discussion. Where do you see the big opportunities are for Muslim schooling going forward?
For me, if I can make a child secure in their religion, their faith, and make them proud of where they are as a Muslim, and where they should be academically, we have to look at the whole child. Then after Islamic schooling, I'm happy for them because they're securing where they are for their parents to take them wherever they go. But for me, I want to break out of the boundaries and the mold of academic schooling. As I actually want to move on to other stereotypes about Muslim women as well, and girls to be scientists, not just doctors, because you hear a lot about Asian families, they become doctors and surgeons and things like that. But let's have engineers, let's have this, let's have that. And that's the reason why I'm bringing in parents with real challenging careers to come in to inspire our children to be something. So for me, it's really important. So for Islamic schooling, as long as from where we are at Oakwood, they're secure in their religion and they've attained their Quran, the ambition that we have for their Quran reading and recitation and their memorization, and they have a solid understanding of Islam, I think we've done our job for primary. Like I said, we've got an ambition for our secondary schooling. And then after that, if we are so, inshallah, successful at getting a secondary school, after that, then hopefully our children will be in a really good position to go to the highest universities. And that would be amazing for children that came from Oakwood Primary to be able to go to Oxford or Cambridge.
Yeah,
wouldn't that just be wonderful? And then to become Prime Minister, that would be great. I always say to my children, you can become Prime Minister because
why not?
We put a ceiling on children,
we do.
Or they put it on themselves. But actually, why can't they? Why can't they?
Yeah, and Allah's bounty is endless. So
exactly,
as Muslims, why would we not have that tawakkul in Allah, that actually, any aspirations that we can actually achieve? And I think, some of those values and some of the prophetic understanding that we have, we need to start living it.
Yeah,
and not just reading it and just
at the Prophet
put it to a side.
He couldn't read. He couldn't write, and yet he could speak to anybody, from a king.
Yeah.
He was so eloquent, mashallah. You see, you're right, Allah's bounties are endless, and we look at somebody who's illiterate and can be so skilled.
Yeah.
All of our children can be skilled. We just need for them to aim high, no matter what it is. It doesn't matter what career aspiration that child wants to have, but they've just got to aim to be the best.
Do you think? Sorry to cut you in the track.
No, it's fine.
Do you think Islamic schools aim high enough.
No, but we will. We are going to.
But why do you think that is?
I think it's expectation from the teachers themselves. I think it could be from the governors, the governance of the school. Are they ambitious enough? I think you have to look at the actual mission statement of the school. What is that? What is the purpose of that school?
Yeah.
So, if you look at that, if you're looking at something that is exceptional, if your trustees want something to be exceptional, they want to appoint somebody who knows what exceptional looks like. So you're all on the same page. But I think it comes from leadership of the school,
But what do you think is behind all of this in terms of just, I know we've mentioned about
protecting children from the society that put them in a Muslim school, I think.
No, but because we've spoken about, Allah's bounty being endless, and we've spoken about kind of Prophet Sallallahu and his example of being the very best.
Yeah.
And we know many a story about Sahaba and what have you, about, aspiring for excellence and what have you. So why is it that if we understand all of this and our schools are based on these foundations, that why aren't we aiming to be the very best? Why aren't we working? Like, why can't we see that we're even working towards being the very best? Like, where's the barrier? Where's the mental block here?
I think there are a lot of things. I mean, like I said, the leadership, I do think is there, because if you've got the leadership and they're saying, this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it, dun, follow the steps, we're going to get there. So there's that. There's the ambition of the school itself. I mean, if you look at Muslim schools, do they have the ambition? Is it there? But then also you've got to look at the skill set of Muslim schools. And there's a wide variety of Muslim schools. You've got your free schools, you've got your independent schools, and you've got your voluntary aided schools. I would say generally your voluntary aided schools and your free schools, the quality of teaching is really good. Yeah. Because you can pay the good salaries.
Yeah, of course.
And if you're paying the good salaries, you're getting your qualified teachers, and you've got the money to do things with them.
Yeah, and the resources and everything else that goes with it.
There, I would say it's slightly different in an independent school because you can't pay those high salaries. You're literally taking the fees and paying the salaries from the fees, and that's it. And if you don't get the children, you don't get the fees, you don't get the money to pay the wages, and then you might need to look for less qualified members of staff. And if that's the case, then you might have a different level of education. And that can be tricky. And also in independent schools, your proprietor and the head teacher don't need to be qualified either. Yep. So do you see what I mean? So actually, for me, I see it as who's leading the school and what is the quality of staff like in the school for the teaching to be outstanding or to be highly ambitious for those children. What's it like, and how are you going to get them there? So it's multifaceted, but I think in independent schools, definitely one of the barriers is money and resources.
Any good tips to anybody listening in on how to have an effective business model or model in your school to be self-sustainable?
Fundraising, I don't know. We're still on that journey ourselves. I don't know. Come back and ask me in a few years and I'll let you know.
I think that's one of the biggest challenges, full stop, for our schools, isn't it? Having an effective model in place so that, financially we don't have those limitations. Because a lot of the time the financial limitations lead us here. What would be if I was to kind of really hone you into one bit of advice, what's the one bit of advice you would give to other school leaders, or even just to the general kind of your peers about what we can do collectively to improve Islamic schools? What would that be? What do you think we could do collectively together to do that?
Think about your vision, I think. And if everybody thinks about the vision of what they want their school to be like. So I know, you've got your Association of Muslim Schools and they're very helpful, mashallah, they're amazing. But I think if you were to group schools together, say in Luton, if you had a bunch of primary schools and you work together as a team of leaders to get your vision right, so you're actually really focusing, because I think you can't have a successful school if you don't have your end point. You've got to know what your end point is.
Yeah.
I know I need to achieve these 5 things. By the end, when these children leave my school, they've got to do this. This is my minimum, bare minimum. So I think you've really got to focus on what it is you actually do want your school to achieve. And if there's a collective group with similar visions, or even different ones, but they then plan. And I think planning is so important, because you can't get to your end point unless you know the steps to get there, if that makes sense, and how you're going to do it. And that comes to me through my plan. I have a school development plan, and maybe it's old school, but that's how I work. I have a plan. I have a plan for 5 years. I know where I'm going to be in 5 years. I know where the school's going to be in 5 years, and I know where I should be in September. And I work through it, and I'm accountable to my trustees to make sure we get there. So I think planning, vision, and making sure you can get there, definitely. And then problem solve through your barriers, your staffing issues, or whatever. We all have the issues. I think we all have issues. So we have to, have a plan B. So,
Sister, Jazakallah khair for your time. Alhamdulillah, you know what? It's flown by.
I hope I've answered the questions properly.
Well, I don't know. Let the audience be the judge of that.
Inshallah.
But no, mashallah, I think it's been really good. I think you, mashallah. If you'd like to participate in the Murabiyoon Show, why not get in contact? It's as simple as going to our website, murabiyoon.com, and filling out this simple form.